It's Jody here with All About the Harvest, and today we're going to talk about canning jars and lids. Are you having a hard time finding canning jars and lids? In this video, we're going to talk about all of my tips on where to find canning jars and lids and the best and worst prices for them. To learn about all things food related, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video every week. I have been canning for over a decade, and I've learned a thing or two when it comes to finding jars and lids at the right price. Today, I am sharing all of my tips, so hopefully you can find jars and lids at a great price as well. Now let's dive in. Okay, first I'm going to talk about physical stores. Now I'm in Wisconsin, so some of these stores might not be the same for you, or you might have their sister store in your location. So the first store is Pick and Save. The sister store to that, or the parent company to that, is Kroger. And I have seen a lot of people post about different Krogers that have just huge sections of canning jars. Now our local Pick and Save does have canning jars, and I will say that I don't get canning jars there because they're very, very expensive. Some people will post that their canning jars go on clearance, and if they go on clearance and they're a good price, then I would go ahead and get them. But every time I've checked my local Pick and Save, the prices were just way too expensive. For me, a price that I'm willing to pay, a regular price for pint jars at a store, would be like $7. And at Kroger or Pick and Save, it's like $14. It's ridiculous. It's just too expensive. Pick and Save and Kroger are places that you can go for jars, but I don't recommend them because they're so pricey. Unless you can get them on a deal and a sale or with a coupon. And the Krogers that I've seen other people post pictures of, their Krogers seem to be much bigger than just the Pick and Save by us. Okay, so that's enough about Pick and Save. The second one is Meijer. Meijer doesn't have the best prices either, but I will say in the fall of 2020, I was able to get canning lids at Meijer. They were not the cheapest canning lids, but they were canning lids nonetheless, and I needed them. So I paid $2.49 for a box of regular mouth lids. So Walmart is the third store that I'm going to tell you about. Walmart carries jars year round and lids. Now Walmart has their own brand of lids. I have not used their brand of lids because I don't find them to be the cheapest. I actually find I can get lids cheaper elsewhere, so I haven't had to use Walmart lids at this point. But in October or November of 2020, I did go to Walmart and I bought some 8-ounce jars. I bought 2 cases, so they had them on the shelves. I bought them for canning pineapple chunks, and then I also bought them to make some strawberry jam. And they had them on the shelves. Obviously, they were Ball or Care brand. In 2017, Walmart ran a Black Friday ad where they had cases of pint jars, regular mouth pint jars, for $5 a case. That was a great deal. I ended up picking up 4 cases of pint jars during that sale. So just be on the lookout for those as well. Okay, the next store is Menards, and Menards is where I find the best price for canning lids. I can get regular mouth canning lids for $1.76 a box. That's the best price that I can find in our area for canning lids. So that's where I go for canning lids. The nice thing about that is you can also combine that with their 11% off promos that sometimes they run. And then you can get a 11% rebate. I did that once. I had bought a bunch of different canning supplies and other things. And so then you get that rebate back that you can use back in the store again at a future date. And then you can use it to buy more canning jars or lids or whatever. So Menards is my number one go-to for lid prices in our area. Okay, so the next place, this is my second for best prices for lids and also best price for half-gallon jars. Fleet Farm. I know in different areas of the state, even, or different areas of the country, it's called Farm and Fleet. Blaine's Farm and Fleet, but we have Fleet Farm by us. And so Fleet Farm has has great prices on canning lids. They're like the number two price. I think they're like $1.89 for regular mouth. Now I'm just quoting regular mouth. I do get wide mouth, but I just know regular mouth prices off the top of my head. And so that's a great price as well. The other thing I like about Fleet Farm is their half-gallon jars are the cheapest I've seen. Now, they always run a sale on them as well. So I wait to get them until they are $8, like $7.99 for a 6-pack of half-gallon jars. And that's a really good price. I think regularly they might be $10. I think that's about right. But so I pick them up when I need them. And I use half-gallon jars. For canning, they're only good for apple juice or grape juice to safely can in. But I actually use half-gallon jars a lot for my dehydrated goods. Rice, sugar, flour, but any dehydrated goods. I dehydrate a lot of tomatoes, so I'll put them in there. So I use half-gallon jars a lot for dehydrated goods. Next is Dollar General. So this one was kind of a surprise to me. I don't normally shop at Dollar General, but I was there and it was the fall. They had 8-ounce jars that were in their clearance section. I ended up getting them. I think there was I don't know if there were an additional 25% off or something. So, but I've never seen canning jars there before, although I don't really frequent Dollar General that often. But after that, I had gone looking and I didn't see canning jars. So our particular Dollar General in Wisconsin, I didn't see canning jars except for that one time, and I grabbed them. But I have heard other people say that they have canning jars there. So just want to throw out the Dollar General. For us, it might just be seasonal. Another place that I found canning jars for a good deal was Costco. With Costco, it's kind of like a hit or miss. I believe it was the fall of 2017. They had quart jars. And their quart jars, and I believe they had wide mouth and regular mouth, I believe. But they were like $6.99 for a case. And that's an amazing price for a case of quart jars, brand new case of quart jars. So, and wide mouth is typically more expensive. Okay. So the next physical store is Hobby Lobby. So Hobby Lobby or other crafting stores, like a Michael's, a Joann Fabrics, things like that. I'm going to tell you off the top, this is probably the most expensive place to buy jars. Hobby Lobby, places like Hobby Lobby and things like that are selling them more from a crafting perspective. A lot of people will use them now in weddings or for showers, different things like that. So they're actually really expensive, and you can get them cheaper at some of these other places that I had already mentioned. I would not go to Hobby Lobby or a crafting place for canning jars. I just wouldn't. But if you need jars, those are places to look. So those crafting type stores. Another location that you might not have thought of are Amish stores. So in Wisconsin, we have a lot of Amish stores, and they have lids and jars, but they sell lids there for sure. I haven't gone to any of the Amish stores, but they do have them. So other people have gone there. So Amish stores is another place to go. Okay, the next one. This one might be my favorite, and it is thrift stores. So you can go to thrift stores and find jars and lids. Now, I have a couple really good tips for thrift stores. By us, thrift stores usually have 1 or 2 different specials that they run. One of them is they'll do like a color of the week. So it's the color of the price tag. So if that color, it's the color of the week, then that anything that's that color price tag is usually like 50% off. They have a percentage off. I get my jars when the color of the day or the week and the color of the tag matches, so that I'm getting them for that 50% off. Now, some thrift stores will do like the section of the store. So they might say, okay, this week books are 50% off, or next week housewares are 50% off, or furniture, or clothing. So when those jars are in that section, so usually houseware, some of them will do glassware. So you just gotta look. But when those are 50% off, that's when I'm buying those jars. Of course, I'm not buying jars that are too expensive. So I will say this: from a thrift store, because they're used, they're generally not new. They don't have the rings or the lids, or they're not new rings or new lids. Rings can be reused, lids can't, and there'll be more on that in my next video that I'm going to be covering on jars and lids. We'll talk more about that in detail. But generally speaking, lids can't be reused. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is go to thrift stores and take advantage of the special of the week, especially when that intersects with the jars. Now, another really good deal that we have at a thrift store that's local to me is they do a coupon. And the coupon is 25% off your entire order. That coupon can be combined with the color of the week. So for that particular thrift store, I will go to the thrift store and I will look. There's a section that they always have the jars, and I kind of look to see what they have, see what their prices are, and then I'll wait and I'll kind of look at the color tags, and then I'll wait until the color of the week matches up with the jars, and then also I can use that coupon, and then I get even better deal. A perfect price for me would be 20 cents a jar. That is a great deal for jars at a thrift store. I got to tell you, I had a really great deal back in, it was 2019. I went to this thrift store and they had bags and bags and bags of lids that were new. And what they did is they put them in smaller bags, and I think they priced them, I don't know if they priced them at like 50 cents each for like 10. And it wasn't the color of the week, but I never saw new lids, and they had so many. But I had a 25% off coupon, so I ended up getting them for 37 cents for every 10 lids. And they had wide mouth and they had small mouth or regular mouth. They had a ton of them. I must have got 200 plus lids. Yeah, it was a great deal. That was awesome. That carried me through into 2020 during COVID, when we were going through this lid storage. I've just finished my regular mouth lids. I finished them in 2020, but I still have some of the wide mouth lids from them. So that was awesome. And then another time I went to another thrift store and they had new rings and lids, and I grabbed a package of those. So if I can find those are harder to find at a thrift store. Then those I just usually pick up if they're a good deal. I'm not going to pay more at a thrift store for rings and lids than I can going to a regular store. Obviously, if it's during COVID and that's all I got, then yeah, I'm going to grab them. But thrift stores are amazing. So check them out. That's like one of my number one tips. Okay, and then the last for physical stores. Now, this is one that you might not have thought of either, and this is flower shops. Now, some people that own flower shops or have a flower business, they might use canning jars as their vase, and especially like during farmers markets where they display the flowers in a vase, right? And then they give them to you and they wrap them up. There was a woman that said that she was telling a friend of hers that she couldn't find canning jars or canning lids, and she needed them. And her friend's like, hey, I get all these extra lids and rings from these jars because I buy them for the flower vases. and I didn't know what to do with them. You can have them. So she gave her a ton of brand new lids and rings. And I never would have thought of that. So that's just another idea. You could go to your local floral shop or the people at the farmer's market. Just ask around, because you never know. I mean, some people that don't realize that these are a hot commodity. So that was my tip for my last tip for actual physical stores. Comment below and let me know where you find the best deals at local stores in your area. Here are some non-store locations to look for jars and lids. First, and probably obvious, is Amazon. You can go to Amazon to look for jars and lids. I will tell you it's very expensive and I don't recommend it. So it is an option, but I don't recommend it. So we'll go on to the second one. Second is garage sales. Also, you can kind of combine with this estate sales. So garage sales, rummage sales, estate sales, moving sales. Those are great places to look for jars and even the lids and rings as well. I had mentioned earlier in the thrift store section that if I can get jars for like 20 cents a jar or a quarter a jar, that's a great deal. That is a used jar. That's a great deal. So I kind of think the same thing when you go to rummage sales, but sometimes you just need the jars. You just need them. Just look at rummage sales, garage sales. They're a great place. And you can always ask, sometimes what I'll do is I'll say, how much will you give me if I take them all? So then they're more likely to give you a better deal. So garage sales, rummage sales, estate sales, moving sales, those are all great places to look for jars and lids. Okay, Facebook Marketplace is a great place to look for jars, lids, rings. I keep saying rings, but rings really are reusable, so they're not that big of a deal. It's more so jars if you're out of jars, and then obviously lids. Lids are the things that are a hot commodity. But Facebook Marketplace does have them, and just watch. So the nice thing about Facebook Marketplace, you can put in, if you type in canning jars, it saves that as a search that you've done, and then it will keep showing you canning jars. So that's a nice thing. I have recently noticed since COVID has happened, a lot of people are selling canning jars and lids for really high prices. And I'm not going to buy anything that's overpriced. However, if you need them, you need them. So it's a place for you to look. So Facebook Marketplace is another place. And I have purchased plenty of jars on Facebook Marketplace. Okay. Similarly, local buy, sell, trade pages on Facebook, those are great places to look as well. So next would be asking family and friends. So just ask family and friends, let them know that you're looking, say, hey, do you know anybody that has any, or can you keep an eye out for me if you go to the store? If you see some, let me know. My husband, actually, I tell him, whenever you go to the store, look for jars, look for lids. I tell him that, and he does. He will call me and tell me they're there, or if they're not. So he does that. I've also mentioned to a friend of mine, this is 2019, we were going for a walk, and somehow it came up, and she's like, oh yeah, my mom has a case of jars that somebody was like getting rid of. They were going to put it on the curb, and they picked it up, and they didn't really know what to do with it. And she's like, yeah, just reach out to my mom. She has them. So I reached out to her mom, and sure enough, she had, and they were pint and a half size, which was not a normal size. It's a great size. It's great for like asparagus and other things. I do my taco meat in there. But she had a box of those. I said, well, what do you want? I got all these different canned goods. What do you want? And she wanted some bone broth. So I gave her bone broth, and she gave me a case of jars. And if I wouldn't have offered the bone broth, she still would have gave me the jars. She was happy that they went to a good home and somebody that was actually going to use them. So just putting the word out there, people will start to remember you and think of you. And this kind of goes on with the next one, is post on your Facebook page. So I posted on my Facebook page, this was back in 2017. I was just looking for, who had the best prices for jars or something like that. I had people reaching out to me saying, oh, that's how I found out about Costco. I didn't know Costco had jars. So that's how I found out about Costco. And then I had a couple people reach out to me saying, hey, my mom, this particular individual, his mother had passed away, and she had a bunch of canning jars and canning stuff, and they didn't know what to do with it because nobody in their family canned. And he's like, would you like this canning stuff? So, that was another way to get canning products or canning jars. I didn't, I just put out there asking if people knew where the best places were for deals on canning jars, and I had people actually reaching out to me. So that was really awesome. So never underestimate that. So another thing about posting on Facebook is that I actually post different things that I've canned, when I'm canning it. I've had friends recognize that I canned, and then when they were getting rid of their canning stuff or their parents' canning stuff, they contacted me to see if I wanted it. So that was really cool as well, that I didn't even reach out to them. They just reached out to me because they knew that I canned based on the postings that I was doing on Facebook. So I was able to get some canning jars that way, which was really, really nice. That was awesome. So never underestimate the power of posting on Facebook. All right, so now some other locations that you can get some canning supplies. Uline.com, uline.com. That is a website, and they have canning jars and lids. They are not the best prices, but you can get them and they're available. So they're not the worst prices either, which is nice. So that's another location. If you're needing to get jars and lids, that's a great place. Okay, and then another one for bulk lids is Lehmans.com. And I'll post these links to these websites in the description of the video below. But Lehmans, Lehmans.com, Lehmans.com, they have bulk lids. Now, I will say as of the end of January of 2021, they were currently out of stock on lids. They were filling their orders from 2020 yet. But keep an eye on for them because they do full sleeves of lids, like hundreds of lids in a sleeve. Now, their prices aren't the best. When I actually calculated the price out per dozen, which is how they're sold, my Menards price and my Fleet Farm price beats Lehman's price. For me, that price wasn't the best, but for others, it may be. And if that's the only way you can get lids, then that's a resource for you. And then two more websites that I want to tell you about, and I'll just briefly touch on them here, are reusable canning lids. So currently the lids I was talking about are normally just a lid and a ring, and then the lid is not considered reusable. But there are reusable lids. Tattler makes a reusable lid that you can use multiple times. Now they're more expensive, but obviously they last longer. So Tattler has reusable canning lids. I'm going to put the link to their website in the description below. And then there's also another company that makes reusable canning lids, and that's Harvest Guard. They also make reusable canning lids. Again, I'll put the link to that in the description below. I have not personally used reusable canning lids, so I can't give any personal reviews on them. I have heard that they don't necessarily seal as well as regular. I have no personal basis on that. I do know that there's a little bit of a learning curve with using them. And when you go to their websites, they teach you how to use them. So those are other options are the Tattler reusable lids and then the Harvest Guard reusable lids. Now that you have heard all of my tips and tricks for finding lids and jars, I want to hear from you. Were there any of these tips that surprised you? Did you learn anything? Comment below so I can read what you have to say. Are you interested in canning but not sure where to start? I have created a free intro to canning guide that will help you answer all your beginner questions. I have included a link to the guide in the description below this video. If you've liked this canning video and are interested in more videos, please hit the like button and subscribe. If you have friends that may be interested in this video, please share it with them. Next week, I'm going to be talking about jars and lids. What can you use for canning? Until next time, I hope you have a great week. So you can be updated when I post my next video. So you can be updated when I post my next video. So you can be updated when I post my next video. So you can be updated. Okay. If you've liked this video, what was that? If you've liked this video and are interested in more canning videos, hit the subscribe button and be sure to be notified. If you've liked this video and are interested in more canning videos, hit the subscribe button